I'm going to try to hold it together, guys. Thank you, Fred. I am incredibly proud of the SynkedUP team. Just look at this event. Like Stephanie, Steph, everybody. This is not me. This is the team. So what I'm going to talk about, I agonized over this hour for months, and I finished my slides at 6:58 this morning. And I wasn't even holding it together then, literally, while I was doing the slides. So if I need a minute, give me a minute, and I'll do my best to share with you why we do this, what's on my heart, what's on every member of our team's heart, and to make it a little easier, to make sure we don't get off track, I want to just start off with some factual stuff, some stuff that you might find is interesting, and I want to, speaking of factual, I want to give credit to one of the things in our values is to just have an incredible, almost obsessive customer experience. And I want to give credit to Kyle. Kyle, right here. I really love how you watch that average reply time in our little chat bot, and he makes it his own personal mission to keep that thing under 2 minutes. Now, it goes over and above that at times, but that's his mission, that's his benchmark, and that is something that I know what it's like when I was you, I am you in many ways, and when you're stuck trying to get an invoice out and you can't get an answer until next Tuesday, the second Tuesday of next week, as Jeff Trion would like to say. So, what I'm going to do is go through a year review with some of the stuff that we've delivered in the last year, just to make sure, it's fun because you get to see how far you've come, how much you've done in the last year, but also just make sure that everyone in here knows about these things and is actually leveraging them. Well, it's one thing to build the software, it's another thing to get people to use it. So we want to make sure that we're building things that actually mean something to you and actually are something that you're like, this is cool, I'm going to use it, and not just some free useless screen that nobody ever touches. The most expensive thing to build is the thing that nobody uses. So we want to make sure we're, making sure you're aware of what we're doing and making sure that we're building the right thing. So just real quick, I can't believe that this was within the last year, but we actually dropped the new budgeting tool inside the app in January of this year. This has enabled you guys to be a lot more effective in keeping your budgets up to date. And if you merge this tool with Chris Cooper, Chris, are you in the room here? I'm telling you, make sure you get on this guy's calendar before you leave and go home from this event. Chris has spent 30 plus years in the industry and has just given a wealth of advice and wisdom to many of you in this room, because it's one thing to build a tool. That's a cold, like I said yesterday, it's a cold, hard, emotionless math thing. It's another thing to actually implement that, leverage it, tweak it, make it fit, make it something that you can run with. So what we had before this was literally just a glorified spreadsheet on a web calculator. So now it's inside the app, just makes the management of it a whole lot easier. The other thing we did was build a Zapier integration. If you don't know what Zapier is, it's essentially a middleman that allows you to connect one software to another and automate things in between the two. So we did that so that you could do things like connect your lead form on your website, automatically put a lead into your SynkedUP account. When you send a proposal, send a reminder later. If you add a tag to a client on your mailing list, add that client over to your MailChimp or to your HubSpot or whatever it is you're using for email marketing. The only thing that I had, speaking of building things that people use, what I've learned is that landscapers love automation, they hate setting it up. Am I wrong or am I wrong? And so we're already having conversations about how to make what we can do to increase the adoption. So instead of putting you into a jet cockpit and telling you to figure out how to fly it, we'll just give you the video game controller and you just let it go, hit the button and let it do its thing. So if you want to know more about automation and what SynkedUP can do with automation, definitely talk to some of those guys back there at the back corner. They can definitely give you some specifics. The other thing we did is we did a lot of proposal enhancements this past year. Sales tax can now show on proposals. Custom payment schedules, which is that thing down here, down payment, second payment, final payment. You can do that on a custom degree. And a shareable link for texting proposals to customers. What we found is a lot of people don't like the email, or there's email deliverability issues with spam filters, you name it. So we actually created a button here that gives you a link. So instead of sending it out from SynkedUP's email, you can grab that link, text it, WhatsApp it, email it from your own CRM, whatever you want to do. So that lets you have a lot of flexibility in making sure that people get it and actually see it the moment you are done with it. The other thing we did is some time tracking enhancements. This was Fred's pet feature for many months, and we finally built it thanks to our amazing engineering team. But you can now add timesheets from the web app. It's not only a mobile app thing. So if you forgot and you're now back at the office, you can just fly into the web app and add timesheets right from the web app itself. And we also added the ability to track GPS stamps on in and out times on timesheets, and you can also see like history of when they've edited, like if they clocked in at 7:37 but then edited it back to 7, you can see that, and exactly where they were standing when they did it. So, and the other thing we did, again, thank you to our engineering team, is just did a lot of work on speed and stability on the mobile app, and we got a lot of gains, but I can tell you we're nowhere near done. So this is another, basically, the core thing of what's soaking up a lot of our energy right now is just getting the product ready for scalability, for speed, sustainability, and just make sure that it's something that is reliable, and that's a huge effort that I actually don't know very much about. The 3 people in the back of the room do. And this is another thing that we did. This literally just dropped a few weeks ago. You may or may not have seen it. We kind of made it discreet for some of you that have been using SynkedUP for a long time. If you go into your company settings, you'll see a new toggle that says SynkedUP Success Checklist, and you can turn it on or off. And essentially what it does is, our intention with this was to help you spin up the feedback loop. All that SynkedUP is about is getting you a feedback loop of, I want to build an accurate budget, so I get accurate estimates, and I want to track my actuals against that and back into the budget. Like, I'll take the actual data that I got and make sure that the budget is accurate. And so there's that cyclical cycle that's going on, and a lot of people would sometimes come to us a few months after signing up, and they just kind of have this anxiety of like, am I using it in the way it's intended? Like, am I using the way it should be? Am I getting the most out of it? And so what we did is we created this kind of, we call it the ladder to success, or the SynkedUP Success Checklist. Like, as you come into your account, you can check these things off, and if you do every one of the things on this list, you have essentially activated the full cyclical pipeline of what SynkedUP does for you, and gives you that feedback loop so that your next budget and your next estimate can be more accurate. And the other thing about that is, often when you come in, say you're a $500,000 business using a software for the first time, it can feel like a lot to get all that going in one season or in 1 month or whatever whatever your timeline constraint is. But we wanted to give you the ability to just like take it in bite-sized chunks. So like, take one rung of the ladder, get stable on that, make sure that that's part of your daily process before you try to take the next rung in the ladder. If you try to swallow all 8 rungs of the ladder at once, it typically is stressful for your team, it's stressful for you, and it's too forced, and it doesn't stick. I'd rather do one thing and have it stick than try to do 5 things and a month later none of them stuck. So you can, when you drop into each one of these sections, you can go to that section, you can have a video there to show you how, you can mark them as complete, and you can even, if you're stuck at this step or you're confused, you can even get on a Zoom call with us, book a Zoom call with us right there in the link, right within the app. So, I just want to give a credit and recognition to the SynkedUP engineering team for producing this for us, alongside of all of their other projects they have going on. How about we show them their appreciation? Thank you, Etienne, Ellen, and Eric. I want to talk a little bit about our story. And this picture was taken in 2017. And this was probably these were some of the most fun years I've had working with Tusky Landscaping as an employee. I worked for Tusky since I was 16 in 2007. I started biking to work. I lived 12 miles from the shop, but I remember, I can still picture to this day exactly where I was sitting when I called Matt out of the blue. I got his cell phone number, and I was like, "Hey, are you guys hiring? Like, I want a job." And he's like, "Well, how would you get here?" I'd be like, "I'll bike." And he's like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." And biking was my transportation. I went everywhere in my bike. And I started as a laborer on the crew for $8 an hour, and I thought this was a good wage. And it wasn't bad for the time, but it just shows you how long ago that was. I got into a lot of pond cleanouts for many, many years. This picture, it was 15 degrees. I was building a retaining wall. I was actually doing it for my dad, but it was 15 degrees, foot of snow. But those are the kinds of things that I did to stay busy in the winter. This was Steve. We were building a water feature in his backyard. That was a ton of fun. But my story kind of completely changed. So I was working for Tussie for a number of years, and in August of 2012, I jumped on a plane. I mean, literally, it was like on the flip of a coin. It was like, I don't know, go or not go, and it was just like, sure, I'll go. In fact, I had decided to go, and then something came up, and I was like, no, I won't go, and then that got resolved, and then the last minute I decided to go anyway. And we went to Romania to replace a village schoolhouse. It was a 10-day trip. It was just a short little voluntary service thing, and boy, did that escalate quickly. I met my wife over there, and my life was never the same. It's a privilege to have her here with me today. I spent 2 years over there and came back home with my beautiful new bride. Utterly broke. Yeah, Josh can help me here. Come on, Josh. I had $20 in my pocket. I didn't even have enough money to buy food in the airport on the way home. And it lit a fire in me. And I came back married, didn't own a home yet, and I wanted to make a living. I was looking for all kinds of ways to, actually make it, to get ahead. And I was considering all kinds of options. By this time, this was probably 6, 7, maybe even 8 years into my time with Tussie, and I loved what I did. I genuinely did. I didn't want to do anything else. And I had a conversation with Greg Woodstock. It was probably less than a 90-second conversation at an event like this at Pandemonium in Chicago. And I was asking him, I don't know if I ever told this story with Steve and Matt in the room. I asked Greg if they were hiring. And he's like, "What's wrong with you? Tussie's one of my best customers." $8 an hour? Yeah, well, no, it was more than that by this time. And he said, Stop asking for another job. Just go home and ask Steve what you can do to make the company more money. And I did. And it was a paradigm shift for me as an employee that led to today. It really did. And Steve gave me the opportunity. Steve's always the kind of guy to give the rope for someone to climb. And at that point, how I kind of evolved my role at Tussie, I was still just I was leading a crew by that time. I was just a foreman, not 9 months out of the year. And how my role kind of evolved there is when I did ask that question, what else can I do? How can I make myself more valuable to the company? How can I make the company more money so that I can make more money? At that time, we had worked with I don't know how many different marketing companies, and they were all we weren't getting any leads from our website at that point. It was a colossal failure. And Steve was like, "Fine, take a crack at it." And so he bought me a laptop, and I sat in my little 4-foot wide table for the entire winter, and I didn't know anything more about building a website than probably you do. Nothing. And I just figured it out. And we built a website, and then it was YouTube videos, then it was Instagram, social media, and I really wanted to earn the Aquascape Artist of the Year award with Tussie. I loved building water features, and it was something that it was just a goal I was gunning for. This was kind of pre-SynkedUP. This was before I had even had the idea about SynkedUP. And in 2017, Tussey was awarded that award, and it was just like probably the peak of my time at Tussey, the thing I was most proud of. And it led to all kinds of amazing experiences. Like, this is Shaquille O'Neal. We built a water feature with him down there at his home in Georgia with the Artist of the Year group. We got invited to all kinds of experiences because of that, and it was just Greg Whitstock has been a really good mentor of mine and has afforded me a lot of fantastic opportunities through his organization. This was a picture of the very first Contractor Summit 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, 2020. This was where we were building, that's the tallest waterfall I actually ever built, right there. And little side story, that boulder there on the right, we had a brand new strap, literally cut the ties off of it that morning. And we lifted this one boulder into place, took the strap off of it, and I got weak-kneed. Like, the boulder had a sharp edge on it, and it was almost completely sliced through. Like, when we let that, it wouldn't have been suspended much longer. And it was probably a 4-ton, 5-ton boulder. It was incredible. It was huge. It was like a 7-8 foot high boulder, and whew, it was the closest I ever came to having an accident with a strapping boulders in. But anyway, it led to me taking Greg's advice. If you're an employee in this room, that's the best advice. I don't know if this is universal or if this was just me, but it's the best advice I ever got as an employee, and it absolutely changed my life to adopt that mindset. And at Tussey, so by this time I was doing the marketing, doing the websites, all the social media, and I was the one that was kind of tasked with getting us off of paper, getting better systems and processes. We were literally phone tagging, calling the office to find out what a client's phone number is, and I'm trying to find, what their address is so I can get there. And Derek is the one that pretty much taught me most of what I know about budgeting and how this math works. And him and Steve and Matt would go to all kinds of events like this. They did some Charles Vanderkoy seminars, which was kind of the grandfather of the whole multiple overhead recovery system. And they went to all kinds of these seminars and just kind of started, using the knowledge they had gained to get their finances in order and actually make the business producing something that can provide 10+ year careers for their guys. And we'd used, a ton of different options out there on the market. And there was one winter where we came down to build our budget. We sat down to build our budget. And this was more of Derek's story. I'm kind of robbing his experience here. I wasn't personally involved in this, but I specifically remember as a foreman, when we were building the budget, when we tallied up the man hours, there was 3,000 hours that were on payroll that weren't tracked to any specific job. We didn't know where they went. That's about the equivalent of 1.5 to 2 full-time guys in a seasonal landscape business that you don't know what it did, what it was for. And you need that's expensive, You need to know where that money is headed so you know whether it's heavy and whether it's being directed efficiently. And we just had to figure out a better way of tracking things. And LMN actually really helped us get a lot of this tracking. I still remember the day we were on Jobber at the point, and I remember the day Derek's like, we're going on LMN. And I'm like, I don't know, I really like the mobile app on Jobber. And so we tried to do both, and plus spreadsheets, and it was just a challenging time. And we didn't have a way, even with all of that, we didn't have a way to get this cyclical, remember that feedback loop that I referred to earlier? This is what I'm talking about. You build a budget so you can build an accurate estimate, schedule the job so you can track your time and materials, do your job costing, which gives you the data to build a better budget. And it just goes around and around and around and around. And the longer you do it, the more accurate you get, and the less mistakes you make. And what we needed was that feedback loop. The chunk that was missing was this. There was software that did this. There was software that did this. But there was nothing that did everything. And that's what we wanted to build. And I kind of briefly mentioned my story yesterday when my dad was up here on stage, how in the middle of all of this, using all these different systems and spreadsheets, I came home from work frustrated, trying to figure out what we could do to make this work better. And my dad was clicking around on these graphs, and I was just asking, like, what are you doing? And he was saying, I'm just testing a software project. So I'm clicking this, filtering that. And, I was like, that's cool. So, you can just like build this stuff. Like you're telling them what to do, And he's like, yeah. And so that was where the light bulb switched on for me. And I went to try to convince Steve and Matt, Derek, everybody to like, let's go build our own thing. And I have to tell you, in hindsight, it was the most naive thing I've ever said. I think I have it in some future slides here, so I won't get ahead of myself. But, we were doing all these manual systems. Anybody in here loves working with just poring over spreadsheets and plugging numbers into cells? Hey, we got an accountant in the room. There you go. Anybody else? Let's do a poll. Who hates it? Oh, my goodness. That's like, you're outnumbered, Scott. I'm sorry. So we wanted automated numbers is what we wanted. We wanted that whole feedback loop just feeding into, like, from point to point to point. And this is a screenshot. I know you can't see it or read it, but it's a screenshot of the very first document I ever made about what I wanted, what I envisioned. And every one of us, Derek made one of these, Steve made one of these, Matt made, we all sat down and we made one of these documents. So we were starting to think about this seriously. And we got a quote for $67,000, and we thought we were going to get our hopes and dreams. Add at least 5 zeros to that, and you might start getting close. And many years. And many arguments, discussions and meetings and late night mock-ups, and it turns into a beast of its own. It's a business of its own today. But this was a sentimental thing for me to see that, like, that was April 12th, 2016, and in my Windows File Explorer, I could see I had saved that file at 11:20 p.m., which wasn't too late. So it was just, it was pretty cool for me to kind of reflect on that. That was, what is 2016 to now? Is this 7 years since that? Yeah, going on 7 years. But what we ended up doing is we did get off the ground budgeting, estimating, and tracking. At that event where I was showing you the waterfall build of the first Contractor Summit, we launched the software for the first time. We were planning on, in January of 2020, we onboarded the company Fred was working with. They were our first customer. And we got about 12 or so people signed up in January, February, March of 2020 as beta users, and we ran all summer with those 12, and then we were going to launch in November, December, and then we were at this event in October, and we're like, yeah, it's ready, right? So we basically explained what we were doing with it and gave the opportunity for anyone that wanted to sign up for it, and we got that was. It's been a crazy ride ever since then. A year later is where we were at HNA, Equip Expo, where Josh Sutton stopped for a cup of coffee at the booth, and it was like wildfire after that. And it's led to what this room looks like today, which is just unbelievable to think about for me. I'm just a foreman here from Tussey in the Rural Heroes of Central PA. You know what I'm saying? But the Tussey team faithfully supported the vision. It's not easy to test software and deal with the bugs, and like with the Tussey team, Dan, Jeff, all these guys, they definitely took the brunt of it for many years, and that's no small thing when you're trying to get work done. Steve and Matt just kind of kept on almost blindly pumping money into the project. Like it's just crazy when I look back on it, which is why I say it's no trivial thing to go say we're going to go build our own. Like it turns into a beast of its own. And I had to learn how to run a software company and to become a leader, and that's a thing that I don't know that I'll ever be done being a student of. It's an honor and a privilege to pull a team together and watch them pour their professional skills and their hearts into this dream. And speaking on why I do this, when, it's hard for me to articulate why I do this. But when I try to sit back and reflect on what were the things that shaped me or shaped my experiences that led to me having the fire in my belly for this. When I went to Romania in East Europe, barely 25 years after communism fell in that country, I realized for the first time the privilege and the opportunity I grew up with. And over there, it's nothing to see people my generation literally living in a state of hopelessness. It can happen here too. It can happen anywhere in humanity, but especially in some of those circumstances. And to see the disassociation of like, I can't control any outcomes in my life, so I'm not even going to try, as opposed to, no, I can work hard and I can make it. I can develop a skill and deliver value to the marketplace. Like it's just very rare. This room, the blue collar entrepreneur contractor style persona, is pretty much non-existent in that economy. It's either some sort of national corporate brand or the local village handyman. That's it. And I love business. I've always loved business. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Every one of my uncles started their own business. I have always been around it as a kid, and I always loved it. I love entrepreneurship. So closing the loop on that, set the context is I love to see when someone takes their heart and their passion and their hard work and actually the gears engage and it produces a fruit. And they can actually get ahead and actually thrive in their life, their family, their team. There's nothing more discouraging than seeing someone with a bad back, worked hard 30 years of their life and have nothing to show for it. That's what I want to end. How many of you have never paid yourselves? How many of you have gone through a season in your business where you didn't take any money? That's not the fruit that your hard work deserves. A lot of you guys are incredible craftsmen, really proud of the skills you have and what you do, and you absolutely hate sitting down at the office. And I just want to make that whole, I want to take that and melt that friction and just fix that. I spent a few days with Jordan Danaker from Outer Banks. He couldn't be here at this event today, unfortunately, but his words were to me is, he wasn't paying himself at all. And he said, with SynkedUP, I spent $5,000 an annual contract to increase profits by over 100K. That's a 20x return. He paid off, in his first year, he paid off all his trucks, took an earnings draw for the very first time. And I think he was in business in the teens of years by this time. Keegan Grove was here at the Contractor Summit last year asking all kinds of questions. Frank, you remember him? It was just like question after question after, and you could just tell he was in just a dark, overwhelmed place in his head. But he kind of just blindly jumped off the edge of the cliff, took our advice at face value and did what we told him. And I went down and did a podcast with him earlier this year, and he went to 30% net profit, is paying himself, and he isn't here today because he took his brother, his only other employee, to the beach for the first time as a thank you gift to his brother.
How you doing? It's Keegan on Mountain Strong here. I signed up with SynkedUP probably about 6 months ago, and it's changed my business completely. I was one of those guys who thought $400 was too much money, but I'm telling you right now it's not. Just based off of signing up with SynkedUP, my company went from an 8% net profit to a 30% net profit. And we're doing much better now that we have been with SynkedUP.
Let's give him a virtual round of applause when he watches this video. Who here has sacrificed dinner with your family to get a quote out the door? Probably every one of us. DJ Faust told me he didn't have to sit in his office for 2 to 3 hours after work, and instead he gets to be home with his
My
family.
time is pretty invaluable. I mean, I can't really put a number on it because I could be out selling jobs, or I don't have to sit in the office 2 or 3 hours after work. I can go home with the family and stuff, so I'm getting that time back. So that's really where I'm saving. I don't mind paying for SynkedUP because now I'm saving my personal time. Now I got more family time, so it's paying for itself.
That's why we do this. Who here has guessed at what a quote should be priced at? Who's not raising their hand right now? Justin and Landon, you guys are in the room. Stand up. I still remember these guys. I was on a way home from one of my meetings. I had a 2-hour drive, and I think about an hour and a half of it we spent on the phone talking about just business and the struggles of onboarding with a new system, especially as you have, what, two more employees now? So a total of a 4-man team, and you're just taking massive steps in your business. And yeah, congratulations for the work that you're taking, for the work that you're doing.
We're a small landscape company based out of Southwest Missouri with 1 employee. We're projected to do between $600,000 and $700,000 this year.
We actually have less people working for us this year, but we're actually going to make about $150,000 more, and that's all about how you price your jobs. When we were going to do estimates on a job, we would basically throw something together, throw our materials in there, and then look at each other and say, hey, what sounds good for the labor? It was a complete guessing game, and since we learned our numbers, watched the course, we are now confident in our estimates. We have our overhead covered, our profit covered, and so we aren't wondering at the end of the year, did we make any money?
Who here has worked hard all year and came to winter and had nothing to show for it? These are things every last one of us have common in our experiences. Travis and Danny Friesen doubled their net profit to 14% last year, and are buying their dream homestead. Their business is funding their dream. Congratulations. Stand up back there, Danny. Stand up, round of applause. Is Travis in the room? Go get Travis in the room. So, our SynkedUP vision, you tell me how this reads to you. To end entrepreneurial poverty for blue-collar contractors and their employees. To thrive, not just survive. That's why we're here. That's why we do this. When I was listening to Brian's talk yesterday morning, it was just like, oh, like this is, I'm just drinking that stuff in. Like this is exactly, I feel it a really great honor and privilege to have had this experience where I've been able to live out going from idea to trial and error to actually arriving at this point in this room today. And it's an honor to serve you guys. I feel really grateful for the faith and the trust you guys put into us as a company. We don't take that lightly. We know you love your business like a baby. You know, it's what you worked hard for your whole life, and we want to see that actually produce something for not only you, but also your team and your family. And you know, I kind of view myself as a ditch digger. I put my boots on and get down there and get in the mud and get in the trenches and do the work. So to do this, to get to the point where I can actually articulate a vision like this does not come easy. I've been, like I said in the beginning, I've been working on this. What is this? And I give a shout out to my team for holding my feet to the fire and asking, where are we going? What are we doing? Are we just building another button, or what are we doing? And we're not just building buttons. This is what we're doing. The buttons just help you get there. That's also why we kind of went from know your numbers to thrive, not survive. We still use both, but what I realized is know your numbers is really just a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone so that you can thrive and not just survive. And our mission, how we're going to do that, is to make contractors profitable by helping them know their numbers and make data-driven decisions. And I hope that's not too tech-speaky. How's that land with you? I want you to know your business better than your CPA does, without you having to learn how to read a P&L. I want you to know your pricing, your health, your production capacity. How am I doing against what I had projected? Because there's two ways to screw up profit on a job. One is not charge the right number. That's a math problem. That's what the budgeting fixes. But you can still build a budget and an estimate based on perfect math and get it wrong and not make the profit. How? What happens when you bid a job for 100 man hours and it takes 150? With perfect math. Perfect math. What happens? Anybody? You lose money. Just as badly if you had the math wrong. So it's a two-pronged problem. You have to track. Getting the math right is a massive first step, but don't stop. You still have to track. You still have to know. And with budgeting, it's the same way. If you do a budget and say, hey, we're going to do 5,000 man hours of production this year, but then you don't hire the next guy, or a guy leaves and you don't replace him, you can't get that amount of production done. If you only do 3,000 man hours of production that year, what happens to all the overhead expenses that remained the same? Your production dropped, your overhead expenses remained the same. What was supposed to be your profit, the thrive part, goes to pay for it. So that's why I want to come back to this feedback loop. I want you to know not only your math, but also your production capacity better than your CPA does in plain contractor English. Does that work? Who loves logging into QuickBooks? We got the accountants back here. Oh, we got another one. Yay! You guys should sit at the same table. Who here hasn't logged into QuickBooks this month yet? Or got a report from your accountant this month yet in their business? It's kind of putting you on the spot, I know, but who logs in? Who waits for their accountant to tell them how well they're doing? We got to take her. So our future and how we prioritize and how we decide what we're going to build and what we're not going to build. Because remember, there's a million widgets. Having the idea is the easy part. But the question is, what should we actually build that gets used and actually has an impact in this vision and mission? So our future is to help you know your numbers and your production capacity better than even your CPA does, and just leveraging technology and data to protect your profits. That's why we do this. Thank you, guys. It would never have been possible without Steve and Matt's almost blind support of this. I didn't have the money to put into it, and I know there's days that they felt they didn't either. Why they kept doing it, I don't know. I do remember some conversations where it was a bit like, is it keep going or is it pull back? We're multiple six figures in at this point. I do remember some of those conversations. Who wants to guess why this picture's up here? What is it? First meal after 75 hard? That's not a bad guess. What was that? No, it wasn't. It wasn't the meal I had when we discussed the idea. It wasn't. How's that? Turning point? Nope. One more guess. It was a dinner I missed. That pizza's cold. And the reason I put it in there is I need to practice what I preach up here. And it's hard to it's easy to say thrive, not survive, and preach it. It's another thing to live it. Business will suck you dry if you let it. Yep, so I just want to be real with the fact that, yeah, I've missed plenty of dinners. I've missed birthdays, and I just want to be vulnerable and honest with that, and to share it, to hold myself accountable to you guys, to practice what I preach. My wife is back here. I just want to say thank you. And I want you to look at all the people in this room. This is for them. And hopefully, we can all together have less cold dinners. Sorry, guys. I gotta get over it. So, I want to end this with an award that we call the Thrive, Not Survive Award. And it's something I want to do every year at this event. It's for a business that has done a complete 180 from not making it to thriving. This is the lens with which I look when I think who we're going to choose for this award. The business no longer owns them. The business is fueling their dreams, and that their business and their team and their family are thriving. So, drum roll. Travis and Danny Friesen, can you come up to the stage? Congratulations. SynkedUP team, come on up. Thank you. SynkedUP team, come on up. You guys have really been fun to watch. And come on up here, let's make room for the guys, come on. Here, why don't the team stand up in the back? There we go. And Travis and Danny, come on out here. Come on out here. So it's my honor to give you guys the first Thrive, Not Survive Award from SynkedUP. Congratulations. You're welcome.
What, can I have a minute, Weston?
Yes, go for it.
So, I onboarded these guys. Whatever that was, over a year ago, right?
2 years almost.
Now, how would you say that process went? And be honest.
I thought you were nuts. It came down to money. I met a lot of you guys yesterday and today, and you guys were like, "I was too much money." I was there, and took the plunge, and my wife would tell Weston straight up that he was crazy. But
It was too much money, Weston.
but we looked into a lot of other companies, and we felt like he was family. And I met a lot of you guys last year coming to the summit, and they are family to us. We talk to them regularly on Facebook. They friend us, and they share their lives with us, and it's worth every penny.
Congratulations, guys. Danny?
I honestly attribute our success to, it's going to be hard to say, so give me a minute, but I attribute our success and to where we are now and being able to live our dreams to everyone on this stage and to Frank work. Our lives would not be where they're at now if it wasn't for them. We would still be working 1,800-hour days, and I mean, most of the time we go to bed at midnight and we wake up 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we will do whatever it takes to make it successful, but to have their help and their understanding is just priceless, and you really can't put it into words, honestly. So we appreciate all of you. Oh.
Thank you. Frank, come on up here. Is Frank in the room?
So while Frank comes up here, so when we onboarded, Steph and I at the time were doing them together. We were doing the budget and the onboarding in kind of one call. We took a number of calls. Was this the first time you guys had ever done a budget?
Yeah.
Was with us? Yeah.
We
So
were doing $1.5 million with no budget, had no idea how much money we were making. It didn't matter. We just had to get I mean, we were doing $1.5 million a year, didn't know how much money we were making. Didn't matter. We just had to get the next job done. You know, that's all we cared about, is get the jobs done, get the jobs done. And when Fred set up our budget with us, he's like, do you guys have your budget done? I'm like, we don't know where to start. We don't know how to do it. Like, and here we are an hour and a half into the call, and Fred's like, you guys just have to do it, you know? But he sat there and he went through it with us, and now we know how to do it. And when I call Fred or I call Chris and they're like, guys, got your budget done? Yeah, can we just go through it quickly, make sure it's okay? I mean, it's a breeze now.
And that's what I want for every one of you.
yeah, so when we worked through it, I mean, there was arguing amongst themselves. There was arguing back with me, but we kept pushing through, and there were times I thought you guys were going to churn. I thought you guys were going to give up, throw your hands up, and say, this doesn't make sense. But you stuck with it, we stuck with it, and look at you guys. I'm so proud of you.
Let's take a picture.
Yeah.
Here, hold it up.
If
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. High five off the, Frank.
If I could
yes,
just say
go
one
for
thing.
it, please.
If any of you are feeling sometimes you're driving back from whatever site it's at night, you're tired. Like, you're tired, like beyond tired. Like Travis tired. You know? Travis a year ago. And I had to, so we met at this event last year. Danny wasn't here, but Travis was here. He looked at me in the eyes. He said, Frank, I'm tired. I just can't do it anymore. There must be an easier way. I see other people do it. And so I said, well, you got to trust the process. And it is a process, because you have to build belief. And when you've worked in this for 15, 20 years or more, and you haven't seen the results that you want, where do you get the belief? You don't get the belief just from like doing the same routine. You get belief by learning about other people and hearing other ways of doing it. And literally, the answers are closer than you think. Like you're literally probably just 1 or 2 people away from solving the biggest problem in your business. And it's a process, right, guys? Like sometimes it's even hard to believe that it could come close to what it is that you want. But I know next year is just gonna be even better. And I know you guys are just rocking it right now. You've got a property that's gonna inspire you. It was part of your dream. And now it's just next level. So all of you here can just tap into someone who's doing exactly what you want, and it's one step at a time. So congratulations, awesome work. This is why we do this. SynkedUP, myself, everybody on the team. This is why we do this. So congrats, guys.
Amen.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But it'll
It's
keep paying.
discipline. Discipline equals freedom.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay, let's do a high five. Run down the team here and do the gauntlet. Start to the end. Okay, now high five. No, I'm not gonna shake your hand. Woohoo! With that, guys, it is lunchtime. Let's go.